the aged care horror stories are being told in a new campaign by federal Labor highlighting what they say is a fundamentally broken system. Here's some of their new campaign.
She needs care. It's been proven. It's obvious. We have been on the waiting list for over 12 months. And it didn't appear that we were succeeding or travelling up the line. Maybe that's the idea that they're saying, look, just leave her alone and hopefully she'll go away type of thing. I don't feel it's a government priority.
It's a preemptive strike against the government on the eve of the Aged Care Royal Commission's final report, which is due out on Friday. I'm joined now by Labor's Aged Care Services spokesperson, the Shadow Minister for Justice as well, Clare O'Neill. Thanks so much for your time. Let's talk through why this campaign, what you hope to achieve from it.
Thanks, Kieran. You mentioned that the Aged Care Royal Commission final report will be handed to government. So this follows up on the interim report that was entitled Neglect, and that neglect describes both the position that many Australians find themselves who are using aged care today, but also the actions of government which have led us to this point where we know that today about half of the people living in aged care are malnourished. There are endemic problems with things like wound management, and there's a workforce here that's being treated very badly. So it's a critical issue for the country and we want to get as much attention on it as we can. You showed a clip here which was an Australian person, not a member of a political party, an everyday person whose family is trying to use that system and has been on a wait list. And we're trying to get these stories out to Australians because aged care actually affects vastly more people than many would realise. You've got people in the system, of course, itself, but also, you know, the baby boomers who are soon going to be users of this system and people who are perhaps your age or my age who have got ageing parents, and we're thinking about what's going to happen to mum and dad. So what we're trying to do is really highlight to Australians this is a core issue for them as people they love approach retirement, as they approach going into the aged care system, and we want them to really sit up and listen to what's happened to this system.
So it's basically to put it on the radar of Australians who don't think that this is relevant necessarily, and this is going to be one hell of a report when it's released on Friday. We've already been shocked by the interim report. This is it has been, quite frankly, a nightmare.
It has been a nightmare. You're absolutely right, Kieran. And, you know, reading that interim report, you know, every Australian really should read the first 12 pages of Neglect, the interim report, because I defy anyone to read that and not to be shocked and disgusted that things have got to this point. And we know that it's a consequence of 8 years of neglect by this Liberal government, and we cannot let them get away with this because I don't want a single extra aged care recipient to be treated this way. So the campaign here is really saying to Australians, you know, the interim report makes the point that a lot of Australians don't want to think about their own ageing. A lot of people don't want to consider that they might have to enter aged care. But what we know is that if you're a woman in Australia today, even someone my age, you are more than likely to end up in residential aged care, and the average length of stay is 2 to 3 years. It's not several weeks. So this is actually something that affects every Australian, and we want every Australian to be paying attention over this coming weeks as we debate the issue.
Yeah, well, we need to do better. There's absolutely no doubt about it. It's such a wealthy nation that we have. That's a disgrace. What about the vaccine rollout? Mm-hmm. Is the system, the aged care system, up to this rollout and managing it successfully? Because as we know, it's starting pretty much as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, you choose the words aged care system. The rollout is on the Morrison government, and that's who's running this, and that's who needs to be held accountable. The aged care vaccines are just starting to roll out around the country. Important point to say, Labor wants this to work. We want the vaccine rollout to be successful, and we want this country to be able to move on from COVID. The government has set some very ambitious targets about this, wanting to get 4 million people vaccinated by March. That is going to be very difficult. So we're just watching to see how that plays out. But the important thing to note is the vaccine's very crucial for Australians. We want this to work, and we're watching carefully to make sure that it does.